people don't like to embrace anything from what they are or what society has been telling them for a really long time. So anything that is different is weird, and that is why I mentioned the thing that you take any opinion in general, like what is your favorite color? You will not have just black and white. You will have a spectrum, you'll have a rainbow, you'll have people liking many different colors in between in varying ratios on different days. So why do we have that thing about gender in itself? So people just don't like to embrace difference, and let's try to break that together.
Oh, there is one question from Jimmy.
What about the internal reproductive organs of an intersex person? If you can explain a bit about that. And also, I wanted to know, as you said before, that being born as intersex can be due to some disorder also. So I would like to know what kind of disorders are we talking about? If you can explain a bit about that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no issue at all. This is a little bit of a long topic. So the thing is, like I mentioned before, external genitalia can be different. I had a diagram for it to be able to explain myself better. But internal reproductive organs can also have varied manifestation in intersex people. So there can be one testes and one ovary in the same individual. Ovary is a female reproductive organ and testes is a male reproductive organ, which can be present in the same individual. This can also be a presentation. Sometimes what can happen is the external genitalia is absolutely normal, like you know for sure this is a female, but the vagina, the thing that connects the external genitalia to the internal, that is the cervix, is shallow. That means there is no tunnel which connects it. It is there is a disconnect or a discontinuity in the reproductive organ in itself. So that person might not have their periods because there is no link to the outside. Things like that also happen. So there are varied manifestations. These are just a few, for example. And second thing is disorders. Yes, there are chromosomal ones or genetic ones that you're already aware of. Yeah. But there are also other disorders. Like for example, there is a gland called as adrenal gland, which is present on top of your kidneys. These glands are also responsible for production of sex hormones like testosterone and androgens in general. If there is any abnormality in the development of kidney and this gland in general, there can also be disorders like which can lead to intersex individuals. But in these disorders, what can happen is the main focus is on the BP of the patient or the psychological like evaluation of the patient. Like we focus more on IQ and other things rather than the private parts, because that is more life-threatening than the reproductive part. Then there are other things like even in chromosomal ones, like there are Turner syndrome and Klinefelters, where the patient can be X and nothing, like no XX or XY. Or the patient can have an extra chromosome, like in Klinefelters, like XXY. In these cases, patient may have an decreased IQ, patient may have an infertile reproductive organ. There may be other heart conditions as well. So usually when there is a disorder, our focus, the genital tract is the last focus that we have, or sometimes even not dealt with. Usually it is dealt with during adolescence or when the person reaches adulthood. Our main focus is on the actual problem that can be life-threatening sometimes.
There's one question from Mr. Parminder Jain. What should we mention in school forms? Male, female, even in birth certificates, we have to write a gender of a child. Key towards emotional healing. Yeah, please.
Usually what I have noticed is in these gender forms, they have male, female, or prefer not to say. This is what I've been seeing recently, but I'm not sure if schools are also doing that as well. So in a case like that, what you can do is, if you mandatorily have to do it, you can select a gender based on the genetic basis or the karyotype that means based on the child's DNA. If you absolutely have to. But that is the thing that we're trying to fight. If we try to raise more awareness about it, if more people know about it, then maybe we can have an intersex column as well. Or maybe we can have a column that says prefer not to say, which is what I've been seeing recently. I'm not sure if schools are doing that. So, yeah.
Is there any court order that they should put a third column anywhere across India?
There is not a court order for this. There is a court order just for mandatory sex changing surgeries, but not for this, unfortunately, at least not now.
Has there been anybody who's applied for it or as a public interest litigation or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
There are PIs going on. Of course, there are PIs going on, but I think it will take some time. But we do know the exact status of them. But there are a lot of PIs going
on. From Mr. Akshay Dengle, what can be done to raise awareness of LGBTQE in rural areas? What steps can be taken to involve such people in elections or social activities to make them actively participate?
The first thing that we need to do is talk about it normally. Let's not talk about them like they are aliens or they are something that that needs to be spoken of very differently. If we talk normally, the norm changes. And just like we talk normally, we can start educating people also that this is something that everyone must go through to some extent during their adolescence. Everyone must have some questions about their gender or their sexuality, what they feel more inclined towards. There may be people who might change over time, who might have different gender preferences based on their ages. That is also normal. So we need to start talking about it normally. That is when the change happens, in my opinion. And obviously education.
Are schools given counselors to deal with this topic?
Schools have psychological counselors that help them deal with stress. But I'm not aware of counselors that deal with gender issues in particular. But yeah, I think there are many private schools that do have these counselors. But when we speak of government schools or semi-government, I don't think there are designated counselors for these.
I want to add to that. So even when we talk about private schools, they don't even have counselors to identify issues of gender and sexuality because you need to have a certain next level of education when it comes to understanding these topics. It has to be a mix of medical background plus psychological background. So I think that's a bit difficult thing that is available in the private schools.
Are there such medico-psychologists available in this area in the country?
There is not defined. So if you ask, there isn't any defined degree for that. There are a lot of certifications available for that, though. But it's not like there is certification for where you can do a medical, for example, gender plus sexuality plus counseling. So aisa koi certification is not available. You will have to do different certifications. That's what I'm aware.
But are there doctors who are equipped either in the cosmopolitan cities, anywhere who can address these issues?
Yeah. That is, I think, Rudrakshi gynecologists are a set of people.
Gynecologists definitely, and even psychologists who specialize in gender studies. That is also a particular subspecialty that I'm aware of. You can definitely approach these people. I think they're the best too.
Is there any government rules who are at least, maybe they will not be able to give every district school a psychologist or a medico-psychologist like this, but at least for every state or every district, is the government able to provide, or is there a request if there are no such doctors? No. Is there any request for such people?
There isn't any law or act about providing one such psychologist, one such person to every state. I don't think there's such law about it.
Is there any public interest litigation requesting?
I'm not about this PIL.
And are there any statistics on the number of children being born in intersex in the country?
Yeah, Rudrakshi mentioned a stat that is 1 in 1,500.
1 in 1,500. That's a huge number then.
Yeah, that's a very common number.
Even today, LGBT and aren't loved or encouraged. They're always seen like something like a curse. Why do the mentally don't change in society, homes, friends and circles?
People don't like to embrace anything from what they are or what society has been telling them for a really long time. So anything that is different is weird. And that is why I mentioned the thing that you take any opinion in general, like what is your favorite color? You will not have just black and white. you will have a spectrum, you'll have a rainbow, you'll have people liking many different colors in between in varying ratios on different days. So why do we have that thing about gender in itself? So people just don't like to embrace difference, and let's try to break that together.
I have one simple question. So we've seen LGBTQIA movements taking growth in all of the world at current times, and I've seen in India it's still very sensible. It's uh, going in a very positive way, whereas USA it's taken a very dark turn where people can identify as anything that they want to. Mike Tyson can classify himself as a female and go and fight a woman in a women's boxing match. So that is something that worries me. And I've also heard about conspiracies where pharmaceutical companies are basically trying to take advantage of the whole sex change operations and the medicine business that goes into it and creating a sort of dependency in the USA. This has not been recognized in India yet, but in USA, yes, there's a lot of conspiracies regarding this. What do you think? Is the pharmaceutical company or the medical fraternity trying to encourage this to, take advantage of it, or is it different in India and different there?
Yes, I've heard a lot of debate about trans people being in sports. That trans women have a higher edge as compared to biological women. I do understand that. Obviously, as of now, speaking in terms of regulation, we do not have a hard and fast rule as to who should be allowed and what not. Speaking from a medical aspect, yes, they do have a biological advantage as compared to trans women do have a biological advantage as compared to biological women. But again, I feel like since we don't have a hard and fast rule as of now, they are participating in sports. What we can propose is having a separate category for them altogether. Because the thing is, it is an issue now because trans women are participating, but this has been an issue all along because intersex individuals cannot be classified into male or female. So where do they go? Because they might also have a biological advantage. And that is why I think maybe having a whole another category altogether can make the talk a bit more easier for them, because it is unfair sometimes for biological women because they don't have the physique to compete with trans women sometimes.
Could you also tell me if you think pharmaceutical companies are causing a dependency to do operations and stuff?
Could be, because like I said, sex changing is not the end of it. The surgery is not the end of it. It is a lifelong process. And the medicines that they take also include steroids, which you all know is not allowed for any competition. But when you say they need it, they need it to be able to transition better, it is difficult to deny them of that, obviously, because it is their right. That is why in this case, I do understand that it is a loophole that can be taken advantage of. And hence, in that case, it is mandatory. It is not mandatory. It is advised to have a third group altogether, where they can have different set of rules, and it can be determined as to what medication to what dosage they should be provided based on their body type.
A question from Ms. Nina Kokal, please. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I had one question that when we go to see them, that LBGT, they are really very intelligent. Nowadays, they have come to all the posts, like advocates, doctors, and they have done so many good things. Then why now also we are not appreciating them? I feel very sorry for them. Really, I don't know what we can do for them, but if something we can do for them, then I will really appreciate myself. Like I can do something at least for them. Because seeing them begging and all that, I don't like all that. They are not meant for that actually. They have to be given education for everything, whatever is required for them. A society has to be formed for them. I don't know how much practical I am talking to, but I feel that everyone in this society, everyone are getting respect. So why not them? They have to get respect for everything, whatever they're, and they have to stop that begging and all that. Means I don't know who is going to do that. Whether psychiatrists can help or psychologists can help. I don't understand that. So just a question of my doubts. Thank you.
So your question is like, how can we help them? Yeah. First of all, I'm very happy to see the way you think. Seriously, it is so heartwarming. From help, like on an individual level, I think just accepting them is more than enough. Try to understand where they come from, their struggles, and support them in any way that we can is a good enough step already. Many a times I know what you're trying to say, why they're treated differently. I don't understand either. There are many parents that feel like it's fine if other children are from the LGBTQ plus community, but my child should not be from that community, or my sister or my family member should not be from that community. बाकी लोग करेंगे तो चलेगा, मुझे problem नहीं है. Many people are there that are think that way also. But on our end, I think all we can do is support them, try to understand their struggle, try to talk about them, and make other people aware also.
Also, I think, just like we have reservations for a lot of things, it will be of use. Also, like the government gives a lot of reservations for a lot of people. If we can give reservations for this gender also in the police, in medical facilities, it can make a lot of difference. Another question is, are these people forced to get into anti-social activities? Like they are forced to beg on streets with the commissions being taken by others, they're taken advantage of sexually, or they are not allowed to educate themselves.
Definitely, you see that all the time. So when it comes to gender, like people who probably don't express themselves as the other gender or anything, they might not feel that sort of discrimination right away. But people who choose to express themselves differently, you must have seen kinnars or hijras begging on the streets or trying to do things or sex work sometimes. Yes, it is very common that they do get taken advantage of in these cases because they look weird, so you don't want them in your place of employment, or it is not professional enough for you or anything. But it is a very good thing because right now the change is very drastic. Like you see a lot of places that are run specifically by these people, or there are institutes that have quota system for these people to show them that it is an inclusive environment. So steps are being taken, good ones at best.